Hello, everybody. Blues, and more blues lately. Not that I mind. I'm right in the middle of a 4 or 5 solo run of blues solos, which is a heck of a lot of fun and something that I've been trying to get better at, so I don't mind. I just finished up the Great Texas Flood by Stevie Ray Vaughan a few days ago, and now this classic blues guitar solo, and I've got two more great classics coming up at number 11 and 10 as well. That, of course, was the instantly recognizable Johnny B Goode by Chuck Berry, coming in at number 12 on Guitar World Magazine's Top 100 Solos of All Time. As an aside, it's also listed on Rolling Stone's Top 500 Songs of All Time at number 7. So some of you may have heard this one before. I finally get to use my telly that I picked up a few months ago. Now, I know that Chuck Berry didn't use a Telecaster. He was very fond of the big Gibson hollow bodies, but I figured that a telly would be a good choice for some 50s rock and roll guitar ripping. This is a Squier telly. It's one of the higher end Squiers. It's a vintage modified. They're like about $600, I think. Well constructed, Duncan design pickups, a nice maple neck, classic telly shape. Just a lovely guitar that I picked up dirt cheap secondhand for like $100. It was a steal, and I've always wanted a telly. Regardless, and not to take absolutely anything away from Chuck Berry as a guitar player, because he was one of the most influential guitar players in history. One would still think that a solo from 1958 would be one of the easier solos on the list to play. That's not even remotely close. I was certainly guilty of thinking that this would be maybe a bit of a walk. It's Johnny B Goode. It's over 60 years old. And despite not knowing how to play it before a couple of nights ago, I figured how hard could it be? A bunch of slides, some double stops, some basic blues licks. Easy. Wrong. It's not easy. Not at all. And the reason it's not easy is threefold. First is the speed of the bloody thing. It's really goddamn fast. Now, I kind of pride myself on my speed. I consider myself a pretty quick guitar player, so I didn't think that the speed would be much of an issue. So I sat down with the track on YouTube, slowed it down to 75%, picked it apart by ear, practiced it for a few hours at that speed, upped it to full speed once I had it down, and found that I couldn't play it. It was bloody well a lot faster than I had anticipated. I eventually got it, but the second reason why it's not easy, and this kind of goes hand in hand with the first reason, is that it's almost all downpicked. This would be a downpicking workout for James Hetfield of Metallica. It's all downpicked. And the third reason it's not easy is because of one note, this one. It's late at night, so I'm not turned up very loud. Now, you can kind of cheat, and this part here... So you can kind of do it that way. And that's really easy. It's the speed and the downpicking. That's not too hard. But there's actually a note he's throwing in there, a little hammer-on between 6 and 7. That guy right there, and that is hard, that is fast, and it's really tricky to get that note in there. And that was a workout, getting that little note in there. One more thing about why it wasn't so easy. You're soloing in B flat. Who the hell writes a song in B flat? Without down-tuning or up-tuning the instruments, not very many songs are constructed using standard tuning in sharps or flats, except for maybe F sharp. So the way the fret markers, the fret inlays, are laid out on the guitar, they're a good guide, a very useful guide for, knowing where you are in solos. And, you end up getting used to knowing where the dots are when you're soloing. This solo, you're playing between the dots, and really awkward from a visual standpoint. Not a huge issue, but still a bit strange, and I found it really hard to get used to because you're playing between the dots, and usually you're using the dots as your guide. Now, I did both solos. I did the intro, I did the main solo. The intro solo is much more famous than the main solo, but I figured, I'd do them both. But it's the solo proper that is the more difficult of the two to play. Chuck Berry was just a beast, especially considering that he was doing this in the 50s, in the early and mid 50s. Interesting thing about the intro solo, despite the fact, like I said, that it's instantly recognizable as Chuck Berry and Johnny B Goode, he actually stole this pretty much note for note from swing vocalist bandleader Louis Jordan, who was a very popular big band swing artist from the 40s. Berry lifted it from a Louis Jordan track called Ain't That Just Like a Woman. A track that I was actually quite familiar with, but never really made the connection myself. Years ago, well before the big band swing revival in the 90s, I was in a hard rock metal band, and the lead singer and drummer were big swing fans, and it turned me on to Louis Jordan hard. It was very strange. It was the mid to late 80s, and we were three long-haired rockers, and all we basically listened to when we weren't playing was swing music from the 40s. Cab Calloway, Count Basie, Big Joe Turner, Benny Goodman, Louis Prima, but especially Louis Jordan. Three long hairs driving around downtown Toronto in a souped up Trans Am, blasting Is You Is or Is You Ain't My Baby and Caledonia and Jack You Dead and Five Guys Named Mo and Ain't Nobody Here But Us Chickens. Good times. Then the whole scene kind of blew up a few years later with the whole swing revival thing with loads of bands, Squirrel Nut Zippers and Cherry Poppin' Daddies and Big Bad Voodoo Daddy, amongst a few of the more notable names. Anyway, way sidetracked here. Where was I? Chuck Berry, he borrowed the opening riff to Johnny B Goode from Louis Jordan. It happens, Louis Jordan's guitar player Carl Hogan was actually one of Chuck Berry's main influences as a youngster, so it's natural that he would borrow from him, one of his main influences. Another interesting little tidbit with regards to Johnny B Goode is that the upright bass player on the recording was the great Chicago bluesman Willie Dixon. Obviously much more well known for his prolific songwriting in blues genre, vocals and guitar, Chicago blues guitar player. And lastly, one more little interesting story about Johnny B Goode. It was basically an autobiographical song written by Chuck Berry about himself and his own guitar skills and his rise to fame. The line in the song, "There lived a country boy named Johnny B Goode," was actually first written as "There lived a colored boy named Johnny B Goode." He was convinced to change colored boy to country boy for obvious reasons, I guess, in the mid-50s, as it was very unlikely that the radio stations in the U.S. would play it with the term colored boy in the lyrics. At least he didn't want to take that chance with such an obvious hit single on his hands. And of course, it was a massive hit. I think it went to number 1 or number 2 on the charts. One of the most famous guitar tracks of all time. And just a blast to rock out to, like I said, if one can keep up. And that is all I have to say about that one. I hope you like that one. And I've got, like I said, more blues coming up. I think I've got some Jimi Hendrix coming up next. And then Crossroads by Eric Clapton. And so I'm looking forward to digging into those. And we'll see you next time. Hope you're well and staying safe and virus-free in your little guitar corner of the world. And you guys take care of yourselves. Ciao.